What's up, America? I'm here today to talk to you about Mr. David Lee Mack. He was murdered by the KKK, and the Marion County Sheriff's Department, along with the 5th Judicial Medical Examiner's Office and the State's Attorney's Office, covered up Mr. Mack's murder. You see, Wesley Snipes' lawyer wasn't lying when he said that Marion County is a hotbed for KKK activity. It is. It was, and it is, still today. Let me tell you what happened. David Lee Mack was born on 9/22/34, and he was killed because of the fact that he was born black. On 7/5/79, Mr. Mack was arrested on a phony DUI charge in Dunellen, Florida. Mr. Mack went into a Jiffy Food store to purchase a 6-pack of beer, made a friendly comment to a white female store clerk. The store clerk called the Marion County Sheriff's Department. 2 deputies came and told Mr. Mack as soon as he drove off in the car, he'd be charged with DUI, even though he hadn't been drinking any alcohol and never drank one of the 6 beers he had just purchased. Mr. Mack went to jail, refused to bond himself out because he was innocent. He tried to explain to the late Judge Clyde Trammell what happened. He hadn't been under the influence of any alcohol. He wasn't given a breathalyzer test. He had a non-jury trial, but the judge refused to listen to Mr. Mack, found him guilty, and gave him a 10-day jail sentence. The Department of Motor Vehicles in Tallahassee, Florida, has never had any record of a DUI conviction for Mr. Mack. While Mr. Mack was incarcerated, he wrote a 4-page letter on Marion County Jail stationery paper stating how corrupt the judicial system was in handling his case and that the KKK had promised to kill him. Mr. Mack was also, while incarcerated, written a letter to the then Governor Bob Graham about Marion County's corrupt judicial system, but he never mailed it. Listen, the medical examiner, Gertrude Warner, ruled Mr. Mack's death a homicide. Then someone or ones persuaded her to change the cause of death to suicide. Mr. Mack's certificate of death is fraudulent and full of lies. The knife wound he died from, it wasn't self-inflicted. No one examined his esophagus. It had already been removed from his body by his killers. He wasn't mentally disturbed, and even if he had been, not even the most crazed person in the world could have killed themselves how he was killed. They even changed his DOB from 10/7/34 to 10/7/35. Now, at that time, Ms. Mack hired a black attorney, Arthur J. Shell. The KKK tied a note onto a brick, tossed it through his office window, and told him to get out of town. Mr. Shell got his wife and daughter and moved to Tallahassee, Florida. Now, 33 years later, none of Mr. Mack's personal property that was on him after his death has been returned to his former wife or his offspring, not even his bloody clothes. The Marion County Sheriff's Department is still covering up. In 2012, in the report we made of Mr. Mack's murder is another act of deception being tried because the statement the homicide detective wrote. We aren't saying that Mr. Mack's murder wasn't investigated properly, but it was never investigated at all. You see, the Sheriff's Department never had any paperwork on Mr. Mack's death, not even an incident report. In 2009, my intelligence was tried when I asked the Sheriff's Department records officer why wasn't there any paperwork on Mr. Mack, and she told me because it was a suicide, there was no incident report. Well, even if it had been suicide, suicide is an incident itself. The 5th Judicial Medical Examiner's Office is the only agency to keep it real after 33 years, period. They never destroyed any records on Mr. Mack because there was never any records to destroy. Mr. Mack was smarter than his killers. All the paperwork the different agencies destroyed, he saved. He left a paper trail. Now, Mr. Mack tells us in his own words and handwriting about the kangaroo-style court hearing he went through. The judge left the bench again and sat in the audience to mock Mr. Mack and turn his trial into a sideshow. David Mack used his God-given right to speak his mind. He let them know what they did was wrong and what they was doing was unlawful. He was very intelligent, an award-winning safe truck driver for certified grocers, a father of 4 teenage kids, a good husband, human but not superhuman. He couldn't cut his own throat to the point to where his head was almost decapitated. Listen, Mr. Mack's killers, they drove his car back to his house. You see, Mr. Mack wasn't killed at his house where he was found. Very little blood was found there. Very little blood. The killers cut Mr. Mack's esophagus out of his body. I stress that to you again. His car, he parks it the same way every day. It wasn't parked the same way. You see, he had $700 in the car. The $700 came up missing. Listen, again, Mr. Mack was killed somewhere else than at his home. Somewhere else. Listen, on the coroner's report, she also says that he killed himself while mentally disturbed at his house. Well, that's not true at all. He wasn't killed there. Why did she change her summary that he was killed and then say that it was a suicide? Well, you and I know there is no way medically possible for you to cut your own head off. You can't even get halfway through this. So listen, this is what happened. We tried to meet with the Marion County Sheriff's Department Sheriff Ed Dean this year. He would not meet with us. We tried to meet with the undersheriff that's running for sheriff now, Dan Coon. He wouldn't meet with us. They sent some Lieutenant Sandlin out to talk to us, the head of major crimes, and he stated that if we wanted to have Mr. Mack's body exhumed, which we intend to, he said that if the body wasn't embalmed and it wasn't in a vault, we'd be wasting our time. Well, the body was embalmed and the body's in a vault. Also, they were more interested in running a background check on me than trying to find out what happened to Mr. Mack. But I guess they don't have to find out. They know all along what happened here. Now, the Marion County Sheriff's Department back then and even today has been known to be affiliated or have members that are with the KKK. I'm just giving it to you blood raw. So now, what we have here is a situation where a man was killed. They said that he killed himself. They covered this up. This is an outrage. Here is a letter from the medical examiner's office in Leesburg, and I just received this letter this year, March 11th. What this letter states is that the coroner's office has never had any records of Mr. Mack's death to destroy. Now wait a minute. How could you not have records, medical records, of someone that died or was killed? How can you not? The cover-up continues. The medical examiner's office stressed that they never had any records to destroy. And all the records that from 1979 that they did destroy up under the 30-year retention plan, Mr. Mack wasn't one of them. Now you tell me, how could it be that this man, on his death certificate, it says that he died from exsanguinating hemorrhaging, and which means no blood was in his body, but there was very blue blood found at the scene. Why did they kill Mr. Mack? I don't know. I want to say because he was black, and that is why. Because he said something to this lady, and she felt that he wasn't supposed to say anything to us. The Mahogany Review, I tried to do this story 3 years ago through their newspaper. Front page story. They purposely messed it up, just as they did the story of Walter Cook Jr. They were part of this conspiracy too. This is nothing but an internet paper anyway. It doesn't talk about a dog. Miss Betty Mack Alexander. She's determined to get justice for her ex-husband, and so am I. Nobody will meet with us and talk to us. Nobody. But the deputy clerk at the Marion County Courthouse, Mr. Jack Suit, I really appreciate you telling us what to do. Telling us to file a murder report. And we did. So now, this is where we're at here. We have a cover-up murder. Now, how can the people that are elected to defend us and protect us, how could they be a part of this cover-up? You know, I'm really wondering who were the Klansmen that killed Mr. Mack. Now, I'll tell you this. Don Moreland, you were the sheriff then. You were the sheriff here for 19 years. This was your town. You're still alive. Art King, you were a part of the so-called investigation. You're still alive. A lot of people that know what really happened to Mr. Mack are still alive to this day. And you know, you're going to have to answer to this, whoever was involved in it. But, world, I need for you to know, David Lee Mack did not cut his own throat off. He didn't cut his own esophagus out and then place his hands behind his back and throw a little rusty butcher knife down on the ground. He didn't. The KKK, you killed it. Marion County is a hotbed for KKK activity. From 1920 to 1960, there's 67 counties in Florida. Marion County had more reported lynchings than any of the other counties. This place is a very dangerous place. You wouldn't want to come here and live. You know, it's strange how none of the agency have any paperwork at all on Mr. Mack. You know, it's basically like he never existed. Never existed. But you know, and I know, and they know, that there's no way again that a man can cut his head off. You can't do it. So why are they lying? Who are they covering up for? I have my own ideas, and those are my ideas. But something needs to be done. Justice needs to be served. And Mr. David Lee Mack is not the only one that things have happened to here. In future segments, you're going to learn about Mr. Tyrone Young. You're going to learn about Michael McGirt. Or you're going to learn how they just kill black people here and it gets covered up. You're going to learn. But remember this, David Lee Mack, he didn't kill himself. The KKK killed him and the sheriff's department covered it up. Thank you.